Hey everybody, Adam back with another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. Talking to my buddy Lane Housner here. And you might remember Lane. He had that ridiculous turkey trip where he did 3 states in like 5 days or 4 days or something, just something ridiculous last year. And it turns out that he's just exactly the same with whitetails. And we're gonna get into some of that, some of his motivations and stuff like that. But yeah, he's been just literally killing everywhere he goes. So how you doing tonight, Lane?
I'm pretty good, bud. How you doing?
Not too bad. So I want to get into like this podcast in particular
Yeah.
for like the kind of like the killer mindset. Like we we talk to a lot of guys who, they are, this is how you target big bucks, this is how you target bedded bucks, this is this time of year, that time of year. But yourself, it seems like wherever you go, you just go and you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna do this, and then you just end up killing something. And I want to know, like, so you film for and they're part of like In the Presence Hunt, right? That's the
hmm
YouTube channel. So
Yep.
what is that group of guys, and like what are you guys all about?
Well, we only got like three. It's me, and like two buddies now. I kind of cut it down a little bit, which it's kind of made it easier for me because like last year, man, all I spent my whole fall was pretty much in front of the computer editing. So like this fall, I've been able to hunt a lot more. But just I mean, having fun, man, in the outdoors and just sharing our experiences in the outdoors. Just having fun with it, pretty much. That's what it's all about. Just killing stuff.
But yeah, and that's what I because I wanted to know, like, what's the like rules of engagement, if there are any, for In the Presence Hunt. Because if you guys follow along, like if you're not already following along with Lane, after this, you go back and you look at like it's everything is like edited just about in real time, and it's like, oh, I killed over here, oh, I killed this, oh, I hunted, I'm gonna go try this today, and like, oh, killed one over here, like ridiculous. So like I feel like even for us, like there's a balance, and I try really hard to like not make it like about the content. Like
hmm
I love like hunting, I love shooting my bow, and like once that becomes a chore, like I don't want to make it problematic. Like you were saying, like spending the whole season in front of the computer and like
Yeah.
every waking moment and stuff like that. But then there's some guys who are like, well, we only kill Pope and Young bucks. They're like, and they're it's hard. And I think my problem with filming is like I don't go out there with the confidence every time of like I'm gonna kill something this sit, right?
hmm
So doing all of the like interviews and setting up the camera arm and all that crap gets really old when you're like not seeing anything or not shooting anything, or like, you're struggling to find deer. So you're not having that problem. So
Yeah.
what, like, what's the, I don't want to say like, what's the point, but is it just like, we're going to kill everything that walks by us on film, or like when you go out there? Cause sometimes it seems like that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it does, but what you guys don't see is a lot of times where, I just pass up a lot of deer too, like early season, man, I've had so many chances on bucks and just does. I passed up a ton, and then, yeah, I mean, I'm an opportunist, man. So, like, if something walks in front of me and I want to shoot it, heck, I'll shoot it, man. I don't really care. Like, I don't know. I don't really, I know a lot of people probably are gonna hate me for saying this, but like I don't really try to pay attention to the whole social media thing and like, oh, you got to shoot a Pope and Young buck, man. If it make me happy, I'm probably gonna release an arrow and try to kill it. So, and yeah, I mean, what really helps is seeing deer. Like I've only been skunked probably a handful of times this year. Like every sit I try to go into, like, all right, I'm gonna kill a deer. This is what I think they're doing, and that's kind of helped me this year, big time on seeing deer and just being successful.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like it's easy, for guys to like listen to this and be like, oh, well, it's if it's always the same spots, or he hunts areas that have a lot of deer, blah blah blah. So like this is across multiple states, multiple species, multiple everything. So how many what states have you hunted this year?
Started in South Dakota. I killed an antelope in South Dakota right off the bat. I think that was like end of August. Then I came back, hunted Delaware for a couple days. I got skunked down there. Then Maryland started, I believe, like September 8th or like 9th, so a day around there. And pretty much stayed in Maryland until I killed. And I killed a doe early. Then I missed that big buck. Remember that? He was a slammer. I can't believe I missed him. 25 yards, weak side shot. I'm still like, I lost years off my life just from that one. That would have been probably my biggest buck ever, but that one hurt. And then a couple days later, I killed a small buck down there. And yeah, then pretty much PA came in, started hunting PA again, killed a buck, or I killed a doe early, killed a buck, and then pretty much bounced around, hit Maryland again, hit Delaware a bunch of times. I killed in Maryland, I believe, like November 2nd, and then Dane hit me up and he was like, "Come out to Indiana with us." So I went out to Indiana, and I was gonna stay out there until I killed, but I had some like there's some girl problems back here, so I kind of had to make it short and sweet. So killed a doe out there, then came back here. I believe I killed that Delaware buck, hunted Delaware hard during muzzleloader season or gun season, and then just recently here went back down to Maryland and hunted Sika deer, and I killed like a little hind down there. So that's kind of where I'm at in my season.
And so
So I
this
think I've killed 4 bucks in 3 states, and then yeah,
and so is this like public land or these areas that you know really well? Like
it's
what's the
all
scoop on the
yeah, it's all public. I mean, the only thing that I did that was like on private was I believe that antelope hunt. I did kill that doe. I did kill a doe on one of my like little private pieces I got down here. But my buck was all public. Every buck I've killed this year has been on public. So, and the guided thing for South Dakota, it was fun, but it was I don't know, it was like weird. I'm so used to just doing everything myself. Like they drove me out to the blind, dropped me off. I had like a 50-yard walk. He's like, "This is the goat that's probably gonna walk past you." Showed me a trail cam picture. I'm like, okay, we'll see. And after I shot it, they drove the truck right up to it. I was like, this just feels weird, man. And they cut it up for me. It's just like it was a cool hunt. Don't get me wrong, but it definitely didn't like fulfill everything I wanted to in a hunt. Like I got way more fulfillment killing that buck in Delaware, even killing that little Sika hind, in Maryland public. Like it's just weird. It's like you said before when we were talking, like it's more fun when you put in more work and it's like more adventure, at least for me.
well in like you're one of these guys who is like unapologetically like hates having a unfilled tag. And
Oh
that's what
yeah.
we kind of talked about a little bit before the podcast. Like, like I was saying, we had hunted Indiana and saw deer and everything. And like when that popped up and it's like, well, yep, killed this doe in Indiana last day or whatever. I was like, man, and granted, it's like a 10-hour drive for you or something like that, but it was like 2 hours for us. So,
Yeah.
like, what are you thinking? Because there's a part of it that's like, well, I got to kill something on camera, to make this trip worth it or whatever. But for you, like, what goes through your head, like at that time?
Well, like we stand hunted the first day. I think I passed up a little buck. I passed up 4 or 5 does, I believe, and then I shot at a buck, and it was like just not good. I missed. It was like 60 yards, and I ranged him for like 50, I believe. So I missed like way under him, and then the rest of the time, we spent kind of cruising around, scouting, and the final day was like towards the afternoon. And Kaylee was like, pretty much, you got to get home, or else like I'm leaving you. So I was like, God dang, I was like, I gotta get home. You know what I mean? And Mark was like, he was one of Dane's, or he's like my buddy now. He was like, let's go do some drives, and I was like, all right, let's do it, man. So we did a little drive, and I think this was like the third doe that ran past, and I was like, yep, whack. It was fun, man. Like it's all situational. Like yeah, it was an expensive doe. Don't get me wrong. Would I rather shot a buck? Oh, 100%. But hey, man, it beats going home empty handed for sure. Like I would have felt way worse coming home with the tag still in my pocket rather than having punched it on a doe. So yeah, like I said, man, I'm opportunistic. So like something happens and I can take advantage of it. Probably gonna try to take advantage of it.
So when you say like you feel way better coming home with that. Is that like a personal thing, or is it like from like outside pressure, or like the guys from filming, or like whatever? Because like that's, there's so many, I feel like hunting is so personal, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it gets influenced so hard by, like you said, you don't pay attention to social media, but everybody sees it. And I mean, you were
Yeah.
literally hunting down there with like quote unquote like industry guys. I know Dane would be like, I'm not no industry guy, but you know, uh
Yeah.
yeah, but like for real, you're down there with, some guys that own a hunting company, right?
Yeah.
And like it's so weird. So is it like one of those things where you're like, man, I should have just killed something for yourself? Or is it like,
Yeah, it's 100% personal, man. Like I put a lot of pressure on myself to be successful. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's not about the kill." Well, like I hate to tell you, to me, like I like killing deer, and it's about the kill, and it's about punch and tag. So that's just my own personal goals. Everyone's different. So if whatever your goals is, hey, so be it. I'm not judging you, but that's just my personal goals.
yeah, I don't know. Like and I don't know where like I fall in that, right? Because
Yeah,
like I've I've been on, I don't know, a dozen like unsuccessful out of state hunts
yeah,
where I've passed deer, and like there's a few that haunt me that I'm like, I should have just shot that deer.
yeah,
But then like last year in Ohio, there was that, you know, I don't know, smaller 5 point or whatever, which was a cool buck, and it would have been a cool story, but it's like not why I went down there to hunt.
yeah,
And it's a really weird like struggle, because it's like I could be all high and mighty, right, and be like, oh yeah, well I only went down there to kill this caliber of deer, but it's like at the end of the day, like I'm not a great deer hunter. Like I can I can find a deer, but
hmm
it's like I don't know. I'm not sure like I've tipped that corner yet to be like, oh well, I should be passing up deer on a 3-day out of state trip. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. It's all just yeah, it's all how you feel, man. Like you said, dude. Like I mean, I'm not that great of a deer hunter either. I mean, I just like killing stuff, and I'm a killer, so like I can find animals, and get on them. Are they going to be huge 180 deer, 180-inch deer? Probably not, but they'll probably be a decent buck or like some does or maybe a little buck. Heck, it doesn't matter. Like it's all just what you want out of hunting and what makes you happy. So
So what I want to know, like for you, I think we talked about this like in turkey season, right? But like
yeah,
for you, like where you're located, you can kind of pop off to a couple of these states pretty quickly, right?
hmm
But when you're going west, or you're going to some of these other states, these other areas to hunt, like what are you what is like a deciding factor for you, like whether you want to go, spend the money to make these trips, right?
yeah. Uh, pretty much time and money, man. Like it really just depends on like as far as miles on my truck. I don't really care. Heck, I'll drive all night if I have to. I'll drive 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever it may be. It doesn't really matter. It's just time and how much money I got saved up and how expensive the tag is. Really, I was gonna hit Oklahoma this year, but it just didn't. It wasn't in the cards. So I might hit it next year. Or even I've been looking at Iowa too. I might try to pull a muzzleloader tag there next year. I mean, yeah, it really doesn't really matter.
You're like so Lane and I talked, and the first sit that I had in Kansas was where he actually killed. And I'll tell you, I don't think I explained to you like what a debacle that was when I
Oh, that's
went
a
in there.
mess getting back in there, ain't it?
Well, where I ended up, which is I think where near where you sat,
Yeah.
like it would have been way easier to just walk through that field
Oh,
and
yeah.
cut in, but I didn't do that. I was like, oh, I got the wind. I'm gonna keep the wind in my favor. And I
Mhm.
walked right down through all that stuff. And then there was like what on the map, or like e-scouting or whatever, kind of
Yeah.
looks like a little ditch, but it's not a ditch by any stretch of the the imagination. It's got like a pond at the end. So I
Yeah.
crossed this what I thought was the creek, and I got over to this other side, and I was like, I'd need a kayak to get across here. So then I had to go all the way back out. and it was a debacle. And then the
Yeah.
farmer came into the field and all this stuff, and I was like, man, this is a mess. And you went in there and
Yeah.
killed on the first day, first sit, first everything.
Yeah.
And I ended up killing the next morning, and I talked about it a little bit, and I've definitely talked about it with like a lot of my friends and like on the Patreon and all that stuff about like how I felt like I don't, and it feels just so weird because the ultimate outcome was exactly what I would have hoped for, but
Mhm.
I like what you said about that adventure or like the the struggle. Like I feel like if you're not a good deer hunter, it's not supposed to be easy. Like you're supposed to like hate your life for like a while until like finally you get into a deer or something like that. And it was just
Yeah.
strange. So like for you when you went in, like was that the first time that you had hunted Kansas?
Mhm. Yep. First time I
And
hunt Kansas.
so like when you killed your deer in Kansas on the first morning within like I don't know, an hour of the sun coming up, right? After a 20-hour drive, probably like a 30-hour drive for you.
Nah, it was like
Um,
20. I think it's like 18, I believe.
no, oh yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
it was like 12 for me.
Yeah.
But like, how did you feel? Where you're like, was it because feel like some guys go out of state, right? Like I
Yeah.
got a buddy from the Marines who like he usually has like 3 or 4 weeks off and he'll hunt
Mhm.
Kansas, Oklahoma. This year he was in Iowa and he's sending me pictures of these like what I would consider giants
Mhm.
walking around. And he's like, yeah, the big ones aren't on their feet yet. And I'm like, oh my God. Like I would die, you know?
Yeah.
And then like the other side of it is you go there. I've got these other guys who like will go hunt. They'll have like that 10 days off. And then they'll have like your turkey tour type plan where they're like, all right, well, I'm gonna kill in Kansas, then I'm gonna hunt my way back to Ohio and then maybe Illinois. And then, however.
Yeah.
So for you with your very we'll call it like loose adventurous way of hunting, right? Like lifestyle, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, like how did you feel like killing the first day? Because you're probably like one of the only people that I can like have this conversation with of like you like it to be difficult, but you like killing stuff and you like a successful hunt,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It is weird, man. I mean, I don't know. It's like I can't even explain it, but there's a lot of pressure on me. Like I just put a lot of personal pressure on myself to like, all right, I have to punch a tag. I got this tag. The entire drive out, I'm thinking like, all right, dude, I hope I'm gonna kill a deer. I hope I'm gonna get an opportunity. And then like I got in there, and yeah, within like the first hour, all of a sudden this buck comes in. I was like, at first I wasn't gonna shoot him, and then I was like, you know what? I'm here to like he's a decent buck, man. Like he was no giant by any stretch of the imagination, but I was like, I drew back on him. I was holding. I mean, I don't even know how long I held on for him. The GoPro froze, but I mean, it was a good little bit. And then finally, I was like, you know what? This buck's gonna make me happy. So I smashed him. I mean, yeah. After I shot him, I was like, yeah, man, it felt good. And then it kind of was like, dang, dude, I didn't really get to experience Kansas that much, but I did. I did film afterwards. Like my buddy was still out there, so I filmed him for a couple days, and then I rolled back to Ohio and hunted. So I mean, yeah, it's just I don't really know how to explain it, man. Like I just I'm pretty loose, so like yeah, I don't really know. Like I don't really know how like what goes through my mind, but like if I like I said, I'm an opportunist. It probably makes no sense what I'm saying whatsoever, but I just don't even know how to describe it. Like I have so much pressure built up in myself to fill a tag, and then once I do, it's like, all right, I'm just relieved, and then it's kind of like, oh man, I didn't really get to fully enjoy it. You know what I mean? But it also was super fun anyway. It was a whole adventure, So it's just like how you look at it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it makes total sense to me because we say that all the time. And I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they must have said that like a dozen times. Like, you're opportunist. You just got to get. Oh, it was my buddy Bernie, and he's like, you're opportunist. You just got to take what, if it gets you pumped up like in the moment.
Yep.
But like I've had this conversation with another one of my friends, and he's one of these guys who killed 2 bucks in Michigan every year, like super early, and
Yeah.
he's like, as soon as I do that, I'm like, why did I do that? Because it's over. Like, you can go and hunt other states or you can hunt does or whatever, but it's like, I feel like, and like if you're by yourself
Mhm.
or even by yourself for like a little bit, and it seems like most of your hunts are like solo type hunts.
Oh, yeah.
Like so enjoy like the group like hunt, like sharing it with somebody, like being able to like have that camaraderie. And
Mhm.
then when you kill by yourself and you're just like, who am I gonna high five? Like, like
I
nothing,
know, man.
nothing, It's like so you either
Yeah.
gotta like share it to social media or like, you call your couple buddies, but then it's just like now it's done. Now the work begins and I'm by myself.
Mhm.
Um it's just I don't know. Like how do you deal with that or do you not have that same thing? Or is it just like a really solo thing?
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest with you, deer hunting's kind of been solo for me. I mean, I got one real good buddy, like Alex, that like every single kill, dude. That'll be the first person I call, man. Like when I killed that Delaware buck, dude, I blew up his phone. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning or 7:50, and he was still asleep. I probably called him like 6 times, and then I was like, dang it, man, I can't get a hold of him. So I got down, finally got a hold of him. But yeah, like hunting with buddies is like I'd rather hunt with Alex, but he's got a family, like he has a kid, like he has a wife, so like his time is way more constricted than what mine is. So like I've honestly never found another dude who's kind of like me. So like really I'm by myself on all these trips. But yeah, I mean if I could get like another buddy who or like say I had a brother who was really into it too, man, that'd be awesome where I could just like hunt with him, film with him, just share all the experience with him. It like definitely takes a little bit out of it when it's by yourself, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I still remember it. I still enjoy it. But
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'm not like discounting it like saying like, it'd be way better. It's like saying, "Oh, yeah, it'd be better if it was there's 20 more inches on that buck, like another year, like whatever."
yeah,
But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I feel like it takes like a certain type of person to be like just the straight solo hunter. And
yeah,
I've listened to different podcasts on it. Like some of them like one of them was like Aaron Snyder talking about like doing like a 7 or 10 day like solo backcountry hunt where you got no service, you got nothing, you just got your mind to
hmm
deal with. And like and then the same there's a whole nother side of that because like Alex Chop, from Latitude, like we've talked
yeah,
about it a bunch. Like he used to go and do like lots of solo trips. So when I was telling him like I was going to Kansas and it was like just me, like I was meeting some people out there that I stayed with, but
hmm
like as far as like picking hunting properties and all that stuff, it was just me. And he's like, that's cool. Like you get to reset and like kind of like nobody in your mind. You just get to like you got to make all your own decisions and stuff like that.
yep,
And um it
yeah,
just seems like I don't know, like for me it was really interesting because I guess I always have this like inferiority complex when it comes to hunting. Like obviously, like I'm like the world's worst bow hunter, right? So when you get out there and like every time I see a deer, every time like I put myself in the right spot, and especially when it's not where somebody was like, "Oh, go here, go do this or whatever." It's like, okay, like maybe I do know a little bit of something.
yeah.
Um but like I would imagine like the lows can be pretty low. Like so have you been on like one of these trips by yourself where you've like been far away like a Kansas or even like for you yeah, I guess Ohio's pretty far away.
Yeah.
Like where you've missed or something or like screwed something up by yourself and like now you're just like gotta deal with it. Like
Oh
how
yeah.
do you what goes through your mind like in that scenario?
Well, like there was I believe it was not this past fall, but the fall before. Dude, Ohio kicked my butt. Actually, no, it was the year before that. My bad. I mean, I kid you not. I was probably out there from like October 25th until it had to have been like the 13th before I finally killed. And I mean, I was not seeing anything. Like, I mean, yeah, I seen some, like I had some deer, but it was just nothing that I wanted to shoot, just like straight up, just like dinks, like spikes, 4 points, does, or no even bucks at all. And then I believe the fourth, I had a good buck. He raked a tree right in front of me, man. It was wicked. I grunted him in. I mean, he came. I got it all on video. He came in. I mean, he was all bristled up, dude. He was ready to kick my ass. And he freaking comes right in front of the tree, and I shoulder shot the crap out of him. And I mean, I got no penetration. He ran off. I got down, and like dude, I felt so sick. I mean, I was like just so depressed. I mean, it gets depressing sometimes, but you just gotta have mental toughness. That's the biggest thing. Like I feel like my mental game's all right. Like I'm all right in my head. You know what I mean? So I can kind of persevere through it. But you just got to be mentally tough.
Well, like that's like saying like it's situational, right?
Yeah,
Like
it is.
how do you what would you say to guys who would like find themselves like how did you like power through it or whatever? Like
Just
wh-
freaking keep grinding, man. I mean, I don't know, like there's really nothing you can talk to. I mean, yeah, you got some buddies you can talk to at the end of the night, but like they're not out there with you. They don't feel your actual pain. Like they can be sitting on their couch at home drinking a smoothie and being like, "Oh man, that sucks," But like, dude, they're not out there. They're not putting in all your like effort and all your heart into this like you are. And like, dude, it gets depressing, man. I mean, it get like there's been some low times in my life doing like that. Like that I was so low. And then you just gotta always think like, all right, there's gonna be something, there's gonna be something, there's gonna be something, like it's gonna pay off. All this time I'm putting in, all this effort, it's gonna pay off. And odds are it does. Like that trip it did. I think I killed like the 13th or maybe it was the 14th, but dude, it was a grind, man.
I mean that's like a that's like for most guys would be like multiple trips, right?
Hmm.
So like you might go down from like the 25th to like the 3rd or something like that, a week there. And then like
Yeah.
if you hit that one on the 4th or the 3rd and then you killed on the 14th, I mean that's a whole nother 10-day trip,
Oh yeah.
for most guys. So like that's pretty wild. Um I guess I mean one of the things that I always tell guys like as I'm drinking my smoothie sitting on the couch, right? Is is like one thing that we forget is that like it can all change. Like the whole thing can change in 30 seconds. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that the deer I killed in Kansas, like it wasn't like that sort of a I don't low or anything like that, but
Hmm.
it was like from the time I turned on the Tacticam on my bow till I shut it off after the deer ran off with the arrow in him was 6 minutes.
Dang.
So like that's I mean, from the time I hit the grunt call
Hmm.
to when I shot the first arrow was like just over a minute. So
Yeah.
everything can change in a
30
millisecond,
seconds. Yeah. Yep.
and that's what they say in elk hunting, that's what they say. And I think that too, like have you hunted out west like for elk or
Oh yeah.
anything like
Yeah,
that?
I think I spent the whole month of last September chasing elk out there.
Yeah. And you want to talk about like getting your nuts kicked in, like,
Oh yeah.
whether it's like other guys or pressure or, you know,
Everything.
weather or, not seeing anything, not hearing anything, but you're still, traversing all this stuff. You're hot, you're cold, you're freaking
Oh
miserable,
yeah.
you're dirty. Um, that's that toughness where you're like, all right, it only, 30 seconds, everything can change,
Yes, sir.
that one bugle or whatever. And I think that's what kind of sucks about deer hunting is that like they don't answer back, right? It's like I remember like the first time we went elk hunting when we came back home, I was like, if deer would just answer you, like when you called, if they just called back like turkeys or like elk, it would be like the best thing ever.
Oh yeah.
But
It's
I
so
don't know.
wild too how like elk, like there's like a different elk speed. You know what I mean? Like elk is like, I remember like when I got back home, dude, first couple whitetails, man, I moved way too fast for them, dude, just boogering them all up. And I'm just like, I was just so used, I was just in the elk mindset. We're like, all right, I can move a little bit. Like it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's what ended up happening. Like our first elk that we encountered out there, like the wind switch. But like, I mean, I was like John's in the back popping up the decoy, and calling and shit. And
Yeah,
like the spike's just sitting there like looking at us. And I'm like literally like I got a tree between us and I'm just like walking directly at him. And he didn't even care. He was
yeah,
more concerned. But then as soon as that little wind hit the back of our necks, it was like gone.
yo.
And then the other one, I mean, I was like literally running, breaking through stuff, like everything. And those elk are just over there, like doing their elk stuff. Like they didn't really care.
Yeah.
And it just way different. But so many people told us, like right off of the jump, like, you got to remember these aren't whitetails. Like you can make noise, you could move, you can, to a
Mhm.
certain point, like, probably at bow distances, you know,
Yeah.
20 yards, probably got to be a little bit more cautious, but like closing the distance. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just feel like, that's one of the things that people struggle with. And I would say that I struggle with it too, is uh, like when you're not seeing deer, and especially like where you should be seeing deer, like I feel like at this time of the season for us right now, I don't know what it's like by you, but like it's the lowest of low. Like they talk
Oh,
about like
yeah.
the October low, but it's like now if you don't have food, like you
Mhm.
don't have deer, and you can barely get in a tree because there's no cover at all. So like
Yep.
everything has to be like so precise, and it gets so dark so quick.
I know.
Um, what's one of the things like for you? And what I was gonna say about that is like not getting on deer. So like going
Mhm.
out and getting skunked and all this stuff. So you said you've only been skunked like once or twice this year, whatever.
Yeah, more than once or twice, probably like 4 or 5 times.
But
Like,
what's
not
the
seeing any deer at all, you
yeah.
know?
But like, so what are you doing to see deer? And that's what I guess I was kind of thinking that you were gonna say, like when you're out of state, is like, are you moving around to find deer, or are you like, so there's guys like Ryan Glitsky who would be like, well, I know this is a good spot, so I'm just gonna keep, the Bobby Worthington method. They're just gonna sit in the same spot. I know
Yeah.
it's good as long as I haven't messed it up and I'm using the same entrance and access. Like it's gonna be there's gonna be a deer here.
Mhm.
Or there's guys that are just like, get up the tree, you're up there for 45 minutes. You're like, nope, this ain't the spot. Get down, move over here, go find deer. Like, what are you doing to like get on deer?
I would say that's kinda my game plan. It's, like, just keep moving, man. I'm pretty mobile. Like, I can't really sit in the same spot a lot of times. Like, I very seldomly hunt the same tree. Like Indiana was nice because Mark lives out there, so he pretty much sent me the pin to where to go like the first day to try, and I went there and I seen deer right off the bat. So pretty much stayed there all day. I mean, it was hard, man. It was like pulling my hair out, but then the rest of the time we'd move around, just scout, speed scout, where you find fresh sign, go in, and see what happens, That's a lot of times on the out of state trips, that's what I do. Like even Delaware, man, I spent a lot of time scouting it, but then towards like the end of bow season, like I was just like, all right, let's just go scout some new pieces, man. So I just walked around, found stuff, bumped out some deer, went back in there, got on deer. That's pretty much the same thing in Maryland. Like I remember Maryland, I took a day off. I think it was like a Saturday or something, or maybe it was a Friday, and it was like during the season. And I just went down and I just started walking, man. And I came up on this point. I bumped out probably 3 or 4 bucks, one decent one, like 4 or 5 does. This was like early September, and dude, I slipped right back in there. And I mean, I got on deer right away.
Now, I feel like for me, that's like and I hear guys talk about it. And I hear guys like even in like our Patreon group, my buddies will talk about it, like the quote unquote like in season scouting.
Hmm.
But like, I guess I'm always like, I don't want to like screw up somebody else's hunt, just wandering around in the woods. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like the midday scouting and all that stuff. Like, I don't have a problem doing that. I really don't have a problem going in like at gray light where you can see the trucks and you kind of know like what's going on. But like that
Yeah.
whole like just scout my way in and maybe I don't ever stop, or just do like I guess like the hunting public do, like where you just scout, scout, scout until like the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just keep walking. And I know how valuable that is, but I guess I'm just always thinking like I'm gonna run into somebody and like booger them up or like,
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Like, yeah, it sucks. Like I've definitely ran into people, but you just try to be respectful and just if you do see someone, move along. It's not like you're going in there and clapping and shouting and playing music on your phone. It's just like you're just kind of walking through the woods. And realistically, like, yeah, deer might come and they might hit your ground scent and might screw them up for a day or two, but I really don't think it's going to booger them up totally, totally. Like, yeah.
so when you're going through, I guess if you were to say like on like an overall, like big picture type thing, if you
Mhm.
could only hunt like one style of terrain, or like what would be like your spot? Like what is it that you like gravitate towards, or like what makes the most sense to you when you look at a topo, when you start going in and looking at the ground?
Yeah, hill country, man. I love like mountains and like just anything with topography, anything with point, you know. I mean, even if it's like a huge ridge system, you know, big drainage, you know, where it kind of dumps into water's another good feature. You know, you find an oxbow or you find a creek running down through there. I like targeting that too. Like anything like that, really, you know.
So this came up in like our group discussion, so I'll ask you
Yeah.
same thing. So you're in these creek bottoms or river bottoms. It's usually like high on the sides, dumps down, right?
Yep.
So how are these deer bedding on these oxbows with the wind? Because generally speaking, you would think that they would bed with the wind coming over their back, looking out where they can see like into the oxbow. So
Hmm.
they'd be theoretically have a wind coming across the water, their back up against the waters, and then looking out into the oxbow. But then when they would exit that, they would exit it with the wind at their back. So it's not exactly the same as like what you would think or whatever. So how is that how you're reading that when you're gonna go in and hunt something like that? Or like how are you hunting those oxbows?
Yeah, like I meant it's kind of hard to like explain just because I don't want to really give away a lot of information and spots. But like I've also found that deer like to bed with the wind in their face or like just hitting them off to the side. Like that spot I was telling you about is pretty much a big point, and there's oxbow like it's pretty much the point is the oxbow. You know what I mean? And when I came up over it, it was like a southeast wind, I believe. And dude, like I was really not expecting these deer to be bedded right there, but man, there was all kinds of beds right in there. It's for me, I believe that like deer, it's way more visual for deer. Like it's all like as long as they can see pretty good, the wind stuff doesn't really matter. At least that's kind of my opinion. Like they were overlooking just a huge walking trail. They could see anyone walking on that walking trail. If anyone coming up the mountain, they were going to run out, you know. But the wind was hitting them pretty much in their face. You know, it was weird. It was kind of weird, but I came up on the backside of them and I meant, yeah, they didn't even smell me or nothing, you know. And then I got probably 50, 60 yards away from them and I think I broke a stick or something. Boom, they jumped up, you know. It's weird, man. I feel like every deer, every buck beds kind of differently. Like I've seen deer bed with the wind over the top. I've seen them bed right on the points, watching the pretty much the oxbow. You know, it really just it's all situational, man. Like it's just yeah, you just got to pretty much go in and try to find sign and you know see where they're bedding at, see where like the freshest beds are. You know.
So let's say you were going in blind and you
Hmm.
were like, okay, this afternoon, because this is what happened to me the last week, like this past weekend.
Yeah.
Like wanted to check out a new spot. There's a bunch of oxbows. Know there's good deer in the area, and know that there's pretty high density of deer.
Yeah.
Um, so go in there on these oxbows. Wind coming from the west, so we went in from the east. Walk in, thinking that those deer are going to be bedded in those oxbows,
Hmm.
and exit, I guess with the wind at their back until they get out, and then they'll use the wind however they need to. And almost like identically to what you said, like when I got down in there, I walked down in there, so I dropped down over the side and I'm picking my way through, and then I've got deer down in there feeding into the oxbow with the
Hmm.
wind in their face, you know
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, that's cool because the deer are there and they're feeding, and so I know they're down here, but that I would have expected them to be further back looking out.
Hmm.
Um, so that's like we had this big discussion in our group, like trying to figure out like what does everybody see, like how do they use it. My buddy that hunts rivers all the time, he's of the same way that we were trying to go in there, like go in with the wind in your face and expect them to exit out until they get on the plane, and then they can use it however they want to. But it's just like, but it was just like strictly, this is the way the wind's going to be. This is where the oxbows are. So for you, when you're looking at it on a map,
Hmm.
like how are you taking all that into consideration? Like if you were just going to go in there for an evening hunt, like you show up at 2 o'clock and you're like, well, I'm just going to go find sign until but the thing is about an oxbow, like we like public land because we can just keep going and keep going. But like with oxbow, like you can't go all the way to the back,
Yeah.
assuming that the deer are in there because, there's only so much room, right? You're limited in acreage, right?
Yeah.
So for you,
So
your thoughts, like how do you approach that sort of thing?
I'd pretty much do the same thing, like leeward side, and just like be expecting them to kind of be doing the same exact thing you're talking about, and just yeah, that's kind of how I would approach it. That's how I kind of do it on the map too. But sometimes it doesn't pan out, sometimes it does.
Yeah, that's one thing that we always forget to like talk about, like especially when we say like, "Oh, I could have killed him. I let him walk," blah blah blah. Like the deer get a say too, and the deer,
Yeah,
like my friend Joe, he always says like, if the deer always walked with the wind in their face, they'd have to walk around like the whole earth to
yeah,
get back to the same spot. Like
yeah,
they give up the wind. If they can see,
yep,
if they can move fast, if they've got cover, like they're
yeah,
gonna they're gonna do what they need to do to survive, right?
yep,
So
100%. And yeah, it's like also I get on a lot of deer too with like even marginal wins. Just having the wind kind of slightly in their favor. A lot of times that benefits me. Like I mean, it doesn't really benefit me, but like I'll see a lot more deer and have a lot more chances like that. So
yeah, I guess like what is your take on like the wind? Like I don't think you're like a super scent control guy. And
no,
you
heck
know,
no, dude. My stuff's laying in my truck right now, dude. I'm about to go put it on and try to go kill one with a stick bow tomorrow. Like I don't hunt, I don't use any scent control or whatsoever. Like I mean, I'll put on my Old Spice in the morning. I'll take shower. I don't use any soap, but I mean, I'll just douse myself with some water, wake myself up, and roll, man. But yeah, like that's my take on the wind. I mean, try to have it in your favor, but if it's marginal, if it's in the deer's favor, that's not a bad thing at all either.
and it's the strangest thing because somebody asked me, they were talking about getting blown at, and I'm like, and this isn't like, again, this is me saying I'm the worst bow hunter in the world, right? But I can't tell you the last time that I've got blown at by a deer. Like, no kidding. Like, it's been like early last season or something. And
No,
like,
really?
oh yeah.
Huh.
And I, I I don't know if like I'm always trying to set. I mean, I'm always thinking about the wind, but there's always
Hmm.
deer that come in like from the wrong way. Like that buck I was telling you about that like came in, he was like 10 yards behind me and the wind was
Yeah.
blowing right at him. Like I walked in with the wind in my face and he just walked. I mean, he fed right behind me at like 8 yards and then wandered off. And I had like dopey on my boots and stuff, but I mean, I had dropped like candy wrappers like out of the stand like that I had to pick up like at the end of the night. Like I pulled like something out of my pocket and like a candy wrapper fell on the ground.
Yeah.
Like he was close enough that he could have smelled any part of me, and he
Yeah.
was like, yeah. And it's just crazy because people were asking about like my scent control regimen. And I'm like, I haven't washed my clothes like once this year. And if
Yeah.
I have, it's because I wore them in the house and my wife washed them with the regular clothes. So it's
Yeah.
not like they were, segregated or anything,
Yeah.
you know.
That's like I don't like all I do if I kill one and I get blood on it, man, I'll take it and wash it. You know what I mean? But you got to think there's so much other stuff too that you're not like no one's watching, especially if you're filming hunts. You got your camera, you got that microphone thing on top of it. No one's watching that. All your saddle stuff. I've never heard anyone watching their saddle stuff. Maybe they do, but there's like you're never gonna be totally scent free, dude. you know, you know it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I get blown out a lot, dude. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I'm not every single sit, obviously, but like I get blown at like a decent little bit, but a lot of times like blowing doesn't really affect my hunt. Like deer will blow at each other. At least they do, like around me.
Yeah. So this year I did hear one deer blow,
Yeah.
like, me and my buddy Eric were hunting down the river, same setup, wind in our
Yeah.
face, like, and this is 300 yards out in front of us, like, wind in our face, like stiff wind. So it's not like there's like milkweed sucking 200
Yeah.
yards out there. And there was a deer blowing out there. And he's like, are deer blowing at you? I'm like, no, that's, half
Yeah.
a mile away. Like whatever, like not anywhere near me.
Yeah.
Just, just wild. Um, but like I said, I'm not covered up in deer either. So it's the ones that you don't see,
Oh, yeah.
they just don't blow and they just take off.
Yep.
It's funny that you mentioned like the filming stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
I have had so much fun. Like you got one this year too. Like that 360 camera is like the coolest thing
No, I
ever.
know.
And so I personally think so, when I first was like, oh, I'm gonna start filming my hunts and all this stuff, and like I got like a little camera for my bow, and this is like before Tacticam or anything like that, that
Yeah.
I just like zip tied on there. And then
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna get a GoPro and I'm gonna do all this stuff. And you can do cool stuff with a GoPro if you're like dedicated to it.
Mm-hmm.
But like that 360 camera is the coolest freaking thing. I think if somebody was gonna like be like, I want to start filming my hunts, I'm gonna get a GoPro and then I'm gonna do something else, I'd be like, just get a 360 camera, push the button,
Yeah.
and let it go, and
Yeah.
then go from there, because I feel like it's so versatile.
Oh, I know. I don't, to be honest with you, I hardly even take my GoPro in anymore. Like I pretty much just take my 360 and then that main camera, that's pretty much where I'm running now.
And I mean, like ease of use, like that video of my daughter, like I just clicked that camera on
Yep.
and held it in my hand and
Yep.
did everything, and it got the shot out the window that
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't trying to do at all. I was basically just trying to get like the GoPro shot of like the reaction type stuff,
Yeah.
and like get the shot on camera like 60 yards away, like
Yeah.
totally insane. Like
Yeah.
never should have worked out like that, and you never have uh
Yeah.
that much light, like you never like, you know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah.
some of that stuff you're limited to, like, how much light it lets in. There's definitely downfalls to it. But I mean, if you were just gonna start filming, if you're gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna try to do something, like if you had your phone to do
Yeah.
like interview type stuff and one of those,
You be set.
oh,
Yeah.
100%. You'd be
Yeah.
so much further. I mean, I'm looking at, you know, thousands of dollars worth of cameras that I don't use, or like that I've tried, and then I'll buy this one and then I'll buy this one, and then like, oh, that's gonna make me better. Like that
Yeah.
360 camera, just because you bring it with you and you use it,
Yeah.
is like the easiest thing ever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love that 360 cam. I'm so glad I got it.
So one of the things we talked about earlier, and I don't think you got it on. I don't think you had the 360 camera on, and I don't know if it was the buck in Delaware, or like maybe a doe that you shot or something. But you're like, that's gonna be a terrible video.
Oh, that was
Like,
that Sika Hunting.
was it?
Yeah, dude. I knew it was gonna be terrible, but dude, I'm like that Sika stuff, man. That was my first time down at the marsh, so I was like, man, I just slipped in there. I was like, I hope I can kill one. And of course, I was driving down to Maryland, and I like turned on my thing, and it went from like full charge to just nothing. So I guess I left out. I don't know what happened. I guess it just died. Maybe it was low battery the whole time. I just didn't see it, so I didn't even bring it in. But I knew it was going to be terrible footage. Like that, dude. It looks like it's so open in there, but it wasn't. Like I heard some splashing, and then all of a sudden I seen something behind me. And at first I was like, "Is that a dang coon?" I was like, "What is that thing?" And all of a sudden I was like, "Oh no!" I seen the ears flicker, and I was like, "Oh, that's a Sika deer, man!" And it came like 30 yards behind me, and its head popped out, and like the camera's kind of like off to my left just a little bit, so like I could only see her head. The camera picked up the entire thing, and then she like turned and wheeled out of there, and I only saw like bits and pieces of her, and like I was like, dang, dude, I can't believe she got away from me. Like it sucks. And then all of a sudden I just seen like out in front of me like 50 yards, I seen like a little piece of frag move, and I was like, oh, that's her. So I put that scope right on her, turned the camera like kind of realistically where I thought she kind of was, and squeezed one off, man. But yeah, I knew it was gonna be terrible footage, but hey, it is what it is, man. Like at the end of the day, I'm trying to fill tags. It's like I'm trying to get them on film too. But if I don't get them on film, man, it's not the end of the world. It's not like I'm just.
Yeah, but that's not like my point. Wasn't like Lane does bad photography. It was
I
more.
get you.
It was more of like, because I was trying to, because I know you got the 360 camera, so I was trying to figure out like what was going on, because like
Yeah,
normally, and like that buck in Kansas, your GoPro failed on you, and
yeah,
so you just you get what you get, and you know
yep,
you, you roll with it. But it was interesting because like I know you got the camera and you're like excited
yeah.
about, like, you've been using it like really well,
Oh yeah,
and for that Sika hunt though, like for people who don't know anything about like Sika hunting, like
yeah,
what's the, because they're not very big, right?
mm-mm.
And like
Yeah,
uh I couldn't even tell you, but it would seem like a 40-inch Sika would be like a monster, right?
yeah, yeah,
So like what is the deal with like Sika? Because you say they're like the best eaten
yeah.
type stuff. But like what kind of habitat? Because it's like they're always in water, like everything. It's just wild. So for people who don't know anything about Sika hunting, like
Yeah.
what's the deal?
So like I guess someone brought them over from Japan. I don't even know the real like the dates on them, but they're only in like 2 counties in Maryland, right? So it's straight just frag and just marsh. I mean, like you're wearing waders the entire time. When the marsh freezes over in like December, January, they'll come up and like be in the woods and like the mainland stuff you can kill them in, but like early October and like September, November, they're all in just straight up frag grass where like the trees are just dead, and there's holes, man. It's nasty. It's brutal. But dude, they're like the best eating deer I've ever had. Like they're better than elk, they're better than moose, they're better than anything. But
So
it's just the cool hunt. Like it's just like there's nothing like seeing the marsh like wake up and you see all kinds of different birds and like you'll hear them splashing. You won't see them. You'll see some frag moving. You're like, all right, what the heck's that? And then they'll pop out and you're like, holy crap, they're little, but they're just like cool looking. They make some cool sounds. They have like a little 3-pitch bugle. They moan. They like it's honestly kind of like elk hunting. They're almost like miniature elk. Is kind of how I would describe them.
so with these Sika, like how much do they weigh? Like a big one versus like a little one or whatever. And what is the hind? Is that like a doe? Is it like fawn? Is it like a what is the what is
Yeah,
that?
so it's like I'm no expert. Like I've only killed like three in my whole life, so like don't think I'm no like Sika hunting expert. But I killed that stag right up there. But yeah, probably a big one's like I don't know, 100 pounds, 120 pounds maybe. That's probably a decent stag. And then the hinds are what you would call does. The Sika I just killed, man, she was small, but like it's hard to judge them, especially when they come in single or like it's almost like a little doe. Like when they come in by themselves, it's like I don't know if that's a small doe or a decent sized doe, but like yeah, the males are called stags and the females are called hinds, and yeah, probably an average size hinds like I don't know 60, 70 pounds, maybe 50 pounds.
And so if they're just out here in the marsh or like in this frag, all this stuff, and you're going in waders, it's all through water. Cause I
Hmm.
mean, like the dudes from Tethered and like Billy, uh,
Yeah,
you know, they've killed some
Jared.
big ones, and
Oh yeah.
they show all of this stuff, but it's like, how are you like finding like finding these deer, right? Because it's
Yeah.
I would imagine it's difficult to find trails in the water, right?
To a certain extent, I mean that like if you find like man, you gotta come down and experience it sometime, man. You'd love it, but it's like you just gotta pretty much pull up a map and see like little pockets of trees pretty much, and try to get down them and just find fresh sign, man. I mean, like you'll see tracks, you'll see like sometimes they'll have like there'll be water, and then also they'll kind of come up to a patch of trees, and you'll see the Sika trails in there. Like that frag grass is so thick, so like once you find a Sika trail, it's kind of just like, cut in, and then it's only like and honestly kind of like I'd kind of describe it as like kind of like a little beaver trail, like kind of thing. It kind of looks like a little beaver trail, but you can kind of see them, and you just freaking try it, man. They make like little wallows too, so if you find a little wallow, that's always a good like little sit. Or like they rub on trees too, so you find some rubs. Like the other day, I was sitting on like a pile of rubs, and I'm in 2 or 3 trails coming right into this like little pocket of trees, and that's where I sat the other day. But yeah,
don't say just super intriguing, like such a
Yeah.
weird animal, like weird hunt. Cause it's like you said, it's like, it seems like it's always just like in water.
Mhm.
And then there are these little tiny things. And like, I think the first time I ever saw like anything about Sika hunting was like somewhere on the internet, like on a Facebook group, like somebody like
Yeah.
shot one that was a stag that was like a spike, like,
Mhm.
and they were like super proud of it. And this thing was probably like 70 pounds or something like that,
Mhm.
and people were like lighting them up because they're like, oh my God, my dog's bigger than that, blah, blah, blah. And then like the people who knew what it was, and like, they're like, look up Sika deer and like look up how big they get and what, like, they're
Yeah.
like, that's a respectable animal,
Especially for public, dude. Like everyone down there baits, on their like little private leases and everything. So like, they all got cell cams and everything. Like, dude, I got none of that down there. So like, you're pretty much just going in like, you're sitting, you're trying something. You hear one bugle. Like the other day, I heard one bugle. He's probably 400 yards away from me, dude. As soon as I heard it, dude, boop, got down, ran over as fast as I probably could, over to him, tried to set up in a tree like closer to him. I almost died in a hole the other day, dude. I knew better, but like I pulled it up on X, and he was bugling in this other patch of trees, and there was like a little dark spot. And I was like, oh, I bet you that's some water right in there. And dude, sure enough, I was like, got over there, and then there's just straight like little muskrat huts, and I was stinking a little bit, and also next thing I know, I took a step off this low grass thing, and dude, I went up to my chest in it. Like, luckily, I saved my camera and my gun, but pulled myself out luckily. But dude, there's holes down there that probably eat you.
Yeah, that's the worst. I remember fishing on one of those things, and it was like one of those floating bogs, and
Oh
like
yeah.
I fell through to like the top of my waders, and there was no bottom,
Nope.
and I was just like it was like the like Tommy Boy or Black Sheep or whatever. I was like,
Yeah.
stay strong, little roots. Like, I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna die. Like, I'm gonna drown right here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And same thing like with our um river bottoms and creek bottoms and stuff around here is like some of that stuff there's no bottom. Like we just literally just went and like checked out the spot. My father-in-law is like, yeah, you
Yeah.
don't want to go back there without somebody else, because he's like, some of that stuff doesn't have a bottom, and
Yeah.
you'll never come back.
Yeah.
um you'd mentioned like saving your gun and all that, and you are like the second or third person in the last couple of weeks that's told me that they've been really getting into like the muzzleloader stuff.
Hmm.
And you know it's one of those things. I got another podcast coming up that we're going to talk a little bit about this too, but like, I think some of us even like John here, the podcast, like, and I was talking to Frank about it,
Yeah.
like, are so prideful about like never picking up a gun, or like, we're not going to do this, we got
Yeah.
to be, it's got to be hard, it's got to be bow, and like, we're the Bowhunter Chronicles, right? So like,
Yeah.
that's what we really love to do. But like, some of our Patreons are like freaking getting into that, like we talked about, like the struggle, right? And so
Yeah.
they're trying to bow hunt through gun season, and it's like, at some point, like, if you're not getting close or you're not having fun or whatever, I feel like you're only like punching yourself in the nuts by like making it more difficult. Like,
Hmm.
it's like a pride thing. Like,
Yeah.
why would you do that? So what's been the draw to the muzzleloader? Like, what makes it more fun?
I don't know, man. Like it might just be like the smoke, dude. I don't know. Like it's weird. Like so Delaware, the reason I got it was Delaware is either you can either use slug, straight wall, or muzzleloader during their gun season, right? So or bow. But I was like, yeah, man, I mean I was seeing some decent bucks down there, and I was like, man, I really just like want to use my gun. So I took my slug down there the one day, and I had like a decent buck out in front of me at like 80 yards. I mean, dude, it's like a single shot H&R. Like, I mean, she's a piece of crap, man, and I freaking pulled her up. I mean, like, flung one, man. The deer just stood there and looked at me, and I was like, dude, this is stupid, man. I pretty much got to be in bow range of these things and kill one with this slug gun. So I went home and I was like, man, we got this little outdoor store close to me. So I was like, man, I'll just run over there. And they had this one. It was like $300, and I was like, dude, screw it, man. It's gonna open up a lot more. Like they got a lot of like muzzleloader seasons here. Like Maryland has an early muzzleloader season and a late muzzleloader season. I was like, you know what, $300 ain't bad at all. So I bought it, and then like I had no clue about it whatsoever. Like I knew you had to have like powder, you know what I mean? I knew you had to have like the 50 cal like little projectiles or whatever you call them, you know. But I just asked the dude, and he kind of like walked me through them. And went over. I think I had that thing like zeroed in at like 75 yards and like 4 or 5 shots. And then the next day I went out, and dude, that buck came in. I mean, I probably could have killed him my bow in Delaware. And like, dude, I remember like he came in and I squeezed it, and it, my dude, like it was just all powder. And like there's like 4 or 5 seconds where like, what just happened? And then all of a sudden he just tore off, he's holding his leg up. And I was like, oh, dude, I smashed him. And it, I don't know, man. It's just something about it. It's just like, it's fun. It's fun. It's kind of like bow hunting too. Like it's not like obviously it's you can shoot way further with those things, but like it's like you got one shot pretty much. Like you got to make it count. I don't know. It's different than hunting with like a bolt action rifle where you can just freaking you know. It's different, man. But I actually kind of enjoy it now. Like I killed that buck, and then I killed that Sika Hunting with my muzzleloader, and dude, honestly, I can't wait. They're about to start another season here in Delaware or in Maryland. The 16th, it opens up. There's another muzzleloader season. I can kill another buck, so I'm probably gonna try to kill one with my muzzleloader in it too.
Yeah.
But
So I have I've killed 1.5 deer with a muzzleloader.
oh yeah,
I
how does
shot.
that? What happens that figure?
So the first, I don't know if it was the first one or the second one, but like I was up rifle hunting with my up in our property in the UP with my family
Yeah,
years ago, and I was like somewhat kind of like the same mentality as I have like now, like just arrogant, like I was like, I don't want to. I've killed enough deer with a gun. Like it's not any fun. Like I've never killed them with a muzzleloader, so I'm just gonna use. I had my muzzleloader and my pistol, and I
yeah,
was like, if they get like this close, I'm shooting with the pistol. If they're too far away, I'm
yeah,
shooting with muzzleloader. Well, my most of my family left, and they're like, and it was one of these really weird years where it was like super rainy and like foggy. Like it
yeah,
was like we got snow and then it melted, so it was like kind of humid.
yeah,
So before they left, I shot my muzzleloader to make sure it worked and ran a brush through it,
yeah,
and then loaded it back up, go out hunting, and it's like the next day, and this doe comes in, and she was in muzzleloader range. She's probably like 50 yards away,
yeah,
and I have like your H&R shotgun, right?
yeah,
I have a H&R muzzleloader, so same thing except for where the shell goes in. There's a breech plug, and then it takes
yeah,
209 primers.
yeah,
So I'm up there, I'm sighted in, and I shoot, and just a cap goes off.
yeah.
And so now, like that's the whole hang fire thing. So I'm just kind of holding it on the deer. And obviously the deer like heard the whole thing. And so I'm like still in it. And then I start to come like up out of the scope, and the gun goes off. And so it shot the deer like right in the like elbow. So the
Oh, I
deer
get
like
you.
goes up like a horse, and like
Yeah,
the leg is just flopping around. And so I've got my pistol next to me, and I'm like trying to reach for my pistol, and the deer's kind of standing there flopping around, and I'm like trying to see if I need to load the muzzleloader. Like it was a
yeah.
mess. So the deer runs off. This was at night, and so
Yeah,
I ended up going in, tracking the deer like in the dark, finding it alive, and then I ended up shooting it in the back of the head with a pistol.
yeah.
And
Oh,
like
man. Wild.
it was in the dark, like
Yeah,
just just wild. And the bullet like went like right in the base of the spine, like right at the
yeah,
base of the head, and it never exited. It just like stayed right in there. But like there was no blood, there was no anything. So I'm like, did we scare this deer to death? Like what happened? Wasted 0 ounces of meat. Like it was wild, but that's how you get a
yeah,
half a deer kill
yeah. I
with
get that
muzzle.
now.
But
That's funny.
like we grew up like even like before I could hunt, like going on muzzleloader drives. So
Oh
like
yeah,
all the guys would be, and that was back in the day, like before inline muzzleloader. So like everybody's got like the guy that we would go hunt with, had like a purse from a garage sale. It was like a leather purse, like a possibles bag, like Davy Crockett, you know. It's got all
Yeah.
the powder charges and the patches and all that.
Yeah,
This
that's
is like
cool.
even like almost like before like the Sabbats and any of that stuff, like where
Oh
it was
yeah.
like patch and ball and like
Yeah.
all that stuff. Um, but yeah, so
Flintlocks.
yeah, well, we didn't have any flintlocks. I don't think many people had run those, but they were like the ones with the side where you put like the
I
old
get you.
percussion cap on the side.
Oh, okay, okay, I got you, I
Yep,
got you.
yep, yep.
That's
So
cool though.
yeah, but like people have been getting more and more kind of like into it, and I go I go back and forth. Like I love bow hunting, and I
Oh
really
yeah.
like that's like what we do and that's the time of year that I love it. And I think probably more so that's the part that I love the most about bow hunting, because you go back and forth if you let it be like about killing more things, you know,
Hmm.
you'd be like, well, I'm going to start rifle hunting, or I'm going to go do this, or I could have killed so many more deer with a rifle, but that maybe like 5% true, because there's so many more people, there's so many yahoos out, and like in bow season you could be 200 yards, 150 yards away from another guy, and it really doesn't matter that much if you've got the wind, you
Hmm.
know and where the deer are coming from. And I think that's what I like about it. I think some of us are like kidding ourselves if we're like, oh, I'd kill so many more deer. But one thing that's intriguing to me would be like the tracking with the snow.
Oh
That I
yeah,
think
that'd be
would be
fun.
something that I would maybe pick the old muzzleloader back up for. But
Yeah, hundred
yeah,
percent, man. But that's exactly how I am too. Like I'd much rather bow hunt. I got, dude. I've killed so many more deer with my bow than I have any type of gun whatsoever. Like I could probably count deer that I've killed with my rifle, or my muzzleloader here on like my one hand, dude. Like I have not killed that many with my rifle. It's just, yeah, like you said, man. It's a lot. I get a lot less opportunities, to be honest with you. Once the Orange Army comes in.
yeah, I've killed I've killed 3 bucks, I think, with the rifle. I've killed countless amounts of does, and
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever killed a this is a weird like stat. Is I've killed probably 30 does with a rifle,
Hmm.
and I've never killed a deer on public with a rifle. They've all been
Really?
like on our
Huh.
property or on somebody else's like permission property, like some of our friends' properties.
Yeah.
And I've killed 3 bucks with a rifle, and
Yeah.
that's it. I killed one with
Huh.
a muzzleloader and two with a rifle, and that's it.
Huh. That's wild, dude. Honestly, I don't think I've ever killed a buck with a high powered rifle. I think I've just been like a couple does, and then like that muzzleloader was like, I think I killed one buck with a slug gun one time, and then that was my first buck with the muzzleloader.
Yeah.
Kind of wild, man. And like, dude, I can't even tell you how many bucks I've killed with my bow. Like well over 20, 25, maybe probably 30. You know what I mean? Like it's weird.
Why do you think that is? Like, is it just strictly like that's where you were hunting, so you didn't hunt that much on private, or what
I
was?
mean,
I
I
mean,
don't know, man. Like I remember, like I never had anyone like growing up, man. No one like in my family hunts. So like I pretty much was like just self taught, and my buddy like Alex kind of like got me into it too. But I remember like the first year I like kind of got into hunting. Like I was like, oh, rifle hunting's just awesome, man. Rifle hunting's awesome. And then I think I killed one doe with it in PA. And then after that, my brother brought me like a crappy bow for Christmas, one of them like bare, like Walmart bows. And I was like, dude, you know what? I'm going to take this back and actually get like a real bow. So I took it back and I shot a buck with it the following year. And dude, I just got hooked. And I mean, like you said, man, like that's the best time of the year when there's like no pressure whatsoever and the deer like have no idea what's going on. I mean, I see way more deer in archery season than I do rifle season, hands down. hands down.
But it's just so weird because like all those does that I killed, like it's like on our property,
Yeah.
like in one buck, like, well, I guess 2 bucks. One was a
Yeah.
very, very, very small spike. Um, but in like 30 years, like just
Mm,
we just shoot does, like, and we let all the little forkhorns walk, and then the
yeah.
big bucks were just too smart for. They're like, oh well, we know where
Yeah.
you're at, so. But like that, like reflecting on it, like right now, it's like that's really, really strange.
Yeah, right? It's weird thinking about it, you know?
Oh, so for you with a muzzleloader, you had said earlier that you're like thinking about going to some other states and all
Mhm.
that. There's other states that like these guys from the group, they're saying, well, they don't even allow you to hunt like with a bow during muzzleloader or with a bow during rifle. Like, so have you run
What?
into that? So like in Michigan, you can hunt with your bow like whenever you want to.
Yeah, that's how it always is, like, around here, like, PA. I think Ohio's like that too. I mean, I know Maryland's like that. I know Delaware's like that. Like, you can always hunt with a lesser weapon. To be honest with you, I never heard about that where you can't use a bow during muzzleloader season, or you
Yeah,
know.
there's a few of them, so it's pretty
Huh? I'll
wild.
have to look into that.
But yeah, I don't know. So how much season do you got left, and what do you got still in store for us?
Yeah, so can pretty much kill a buck. I got one more buck tag in Maryland, and then I got one more in Delaware. Delaware I can kill it anytime, and then Maryland I can only kill it during this muzzleloader season, so it has to be from like the 16th, I believe, to like the 30th. I think it closes. So I'll probably be in Maryland a good little bit here, trying to get like the last one, and then Maryland closes, I believe, the 31st, and I'm not too sure when Delaware closes. To be honest with you, I got to look, and that's pretty much it, man. I mean, like, man, I got two doe tags left in PA, so when late season comes in here, PA is so weird. It opens up again. It's closed. Like, you can't hunt a single deer right now in PA. It opens up again the 16th, or no, my bad, the 26th or the 27th of December, and then runs to like the 15th, I believe, or 16th of January, and then that's pretty much it for PA. And I don't know. I was talking to Parker McDonald from Southern Ground. I might try to go down and like hunt Alabama with him. And then Johnny Stewart also hit me up. He's like, "Dude, come hunt like late muzzleloader here in Ohio too." So I might do that. We'll see, man. It just really depends on how much money I got at the time. But
You'll
Ohio would
make
be
more.
cool. But what?
Then you'll make more.
Yeah, I know. It's just hard, dude. Like, it's just hard. It's just hard. But yeah, it's weird, man. Like, I had that fiance too, but dude, it freaking did not work out this year, man. So I don't know what balance is or whatever that is. So that was like that was an ordeal. But yeah, man, I don't know. So I ain't gonna stop hunting, that's for sure.
Right, right. Well, all right, man. I hope people start following along with you, so get some more people on board, because like I really enjoy it, and I mean I love being able to just bounce questions off you and get a hold of you. Um,
Yeah.
so where are you most active? Where can people follow along with all the stuff that you got going on?
Probably, all these hunts that we've talked about are on YouTube. So if you go on YouTube and type in the President's Hunt, you can watch all these hunts that I'm talking about. And Instagram probably, go follow the channel page in the President's Hunt, and or my personal page, just Lane Housner. So
All right, dude. I appreciate it.
yeah, bud, thanks for having me on, man. Always enjoy
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah.